confident in their top laner to be able to carry from the top side of the map.
Yeah, we've seen Hanabi carry as either a tank on the Ornn. It has been banned several times. And even, you know, there are certain matches where they just insta-ban the Gangplank and the Mordekaiser. These teams really have a lot of respect for Hanabi's talent at topside. And we've seen him also take off as Vlad back then when they fought Machi. So I'm looking forward to what is the plan for Talon most especially.
Well, here we go. We're going to go ahead, load on into Champion Select for our first game. Of course, this is a best of 5, so I believe it's going to be Talon on blue side to start things off in game 1. AHQ going to be on red. We already see immediately 2 bans directed toward Uniboy, especially the Syndra performance we saw in the previous series. I think that is a very smart move coming out from Talon Esports.
It is definitely a smart move, but the dynamics is definitely going to change. If earlier it is mostly directed towards the jungle, but now there's a lot of focus towards the mid lane. As we've seen during their series, if Candy gets ahead, it is Talon acquiring the victory. So the weight is definitely shifted towards the mid lane, and as well as how Hanabi is going to perform versus Civ later on. For the jungle, though, that's going to be the Graves again, not being open for today.
It's an absolute solo queue monster when it comes to jungle right now on the most recent patch, and we've been seeing it picked up a lot over in the regional leagues as well as some other leagues entirely, some of the tier 1. So understandably it is going to be banned. It seems to be more of a blue side ban because there has been such a heavy priority now with the Aphelios sneaking through the pick and ban phase to get that locked in immediately on blue side for your first pick.
And now for AHQ, I'm actually scared for Talon because this is exactly what AHQ did during their first game at their first ever BO5 against each other. It was the lack of AoE that Talon managed to, or rather the lack of AoE that Talon had during their composition, which AHQ totally scored. And the early game Rift Heralds and early game Dragons will definitely be difficult to take if Talon does not try to match out what AHQ brings to the table.
I find it interesting, though, that we saw, Konyu talk about, he's got his Olaf. We saw so much jungle priority in the bans in the previous series, whereas this time around, other than the Graves, Talon has just kind of let it on through, and he actually opted in to pick up the Trundle for the heavy priority here on the side of AHQ. Meanwhile, Talon, for Kaiwing, looks like he'll have himself the Thresh, and now Candy looking at his lock-in. The Emperor in mid lane as the Azir is locked in.
I think that's a pretty good deny, considering that I believe Ysera is still sitting at 100% win rate on the Thresh as well. There's a lot of respect towards this player. In the meantime, though, it seems to be a little bit standard. We've been seeing a lot of the Corki Azir matchup if AHQ does to pick this up. And at this point, we've seen how much damage a Corki can do, especially you complete that Triforce Muramana spike. And Talon definitely has to watch out for that.
So seeing here now that Corki was, like you mentioned, locked in, and toward the jungle pool, it seems, the next round of bans are going to be hitting as the Jarvan's going to be taken away from River. He can still always opt into something like the Rek'Sai that he's had a lot of priority, but we've seen that actually kind of fall out of the pick and bans recently here in the later half of the playoffs. People are not putting as such a high priority when it comes to this Rek'Sai, and the Yuumi actually being banned out here away from Ysera.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of Yuumi picks here and there, especially at the beginning of the split, but it seems to be the team ban. It depends on who you're facing with. And for AHQ, Olaf is still open for the taking. So I feel like they are trying to force Talon into perhaps this Olaf Trundle matchup that we've been seeing countless of times. We'll have to see if the Nautilus is going to get banned, as it has been that key engage that AHQ needs to finish off this composition, and it's going to get taken out.
Yeah, we're not going to be seeing Lee Sin here for River, either one of his favorites, and like you mentioned, no Nautilus for the heavy engage. Now what does AHQ wish to go for? And we've seen the Bard come in and out, but possibly the Leona actually is going to be the answer into this Thresh, and a lot of aggression to try and jump in onto this Aphelios.
And that's the scary part, especially if you have this Corki that will have the package. If you do have priority, you can try to visit bot side, and your damage is definitely secured. And you did bring up earlier, River can just fall back into the Rek'Sai, and we did see River on the set jungle twice. That unfortunately didn't work out so well on their match against Machi. So Talon, it's a BO5, still have room to evolve, so no need to go drastic measures and go for the pocket picks just yet.
Well, we do see, though, the Renekton is going to get locked in here for Hanabi, so he said, let's play some bruisers, let's try and, duel it out up in top lane for the 1v1. And for Talon, it looks like it's also going to be the Elise getting locked in here for River, so now AHQ with counter if they wish to take it. It's going to be the Mordekaiser lock in for Ziv.
I actually thought we would have seen another Quinn Renekton matchup that we've seen, I think, once, and that was Hanabi on the Quinn versus the Renekton matchup. But it is definitely playing into the more later stages of the game where you can get that Death Realm, make it a mini 4v4 at certain objectives, and just definitely playing on what the team needs. So for Talon, this is a pretty solid composition. You have that buffer coming from Hanabi. You have the Empress Divide to deny any sort of dive, especially you see that Leona on the opposite end. And just a lot of Death Sentence heavy engage as well in the form of this Thresh on Kaiwing.
It's got to be a bit scary, though, because once you start looking toward the mid to late game team fights, what is mainly going to be your front line if you're here on the side of Talon? You're gone with an Elise, so this requires the team to have to make plays early. Otherwise, what we'll just end up seeing is, Cocoon bot Elise, which never feels great in the late game, but also with the fact that this Mordekaiser Ziv can always eliminate Renekton out of the question by just dragging him into the Death Realm, or even that, he could try and take the Aphelios or the Azir.
Exactly, and that would be... Again, you mentioned not a lot of front lines to work with on the side of Talon, and for AHQ, they do have Trundle, Mordekaiser, and Leona with a very kind of hard to catch backline in the form of this Corki with his Valkyrie.
Well, we'll see here. We're going to go ahead and load on into the Rift for Game 1 between Talon Esports and AHQ. Victor here goes on to our grand final against Machi Esports tomorrow to see who will be crowned kings of the PCS Spring.
It is still pretty standard in terms of the composition for both of these sides. And right now, it's a best of 5. Still a lot of room in case you fail this first round. But we'll have to see, as I am expecting a lot of roams coming from Kaiwing. But unfortunately, if there is a Leona on the opposite side, it is going to be a little bit risky to leave Unified all alone.
To see River just, throwing in a volatile Spiderling, just trying to, scout out Kongyu. Start things early, just the one ward in behind the Baron. Doesn't look like he wanted to get any closer than that. Maybe a little bit scared here. For Talon, like we've mentioned, this is a brand new organization when it comes to the League of Legends scene. They have had success, though, in other titles before. And they've been kind of the bane when it comes to AHQ, especially during the regular season. They were able to find the victories over this squad, and they were also able to come back from the brink of death in the first round of playoffs, where they were able to find a reverse sweep to AHQ. It just seems to be this one team that AHQ can never finish off when it comes to League of Legends so far in spring.
And when we look at that series in particular, that BO5, AHQ had a very convincing win, especially at game number 1 and game number 2. It's just that, unfortunately, I believe for Uniboy, he opted more on the utility and didn't really go for the carries as much, and left a lot of weight towards Wacko. But this time around, Uniboy is on this Corki, so the dynamic is definitely different, and you have a lot of sources of damage with the right amount of CC to try and burst someone down as well.
Simple pathing is going to be red to blue for both of these junglers. Keep track. Calling it this time around on the Trundle. We thought his Lee Sin was a little less impactful when it came to the early phases of the game, and this is where I think River really is supposed to shine, especially on this Elise pick. You want to try and get your lanes ahead early. You want to try and get Hanabi, in a very comfortable position where you can try and force back Ziv time and time again, as you even see Candy here playing very aggressive, trying to push back Uniboy into his tower.
Yeah, I believe it is going to be quite difficult for Uniboy initially, especially you have that you have River just lurking around for that early level 3. So for Uniboy, he is just going to be satisfied hugging the tower for now, and waiting for at least level 6 for extra wave clear on the form of your rockets. And now you can see both junglers are at top side. They're going to be meeting and they're seeing each other actually.
Meanwhile, mid lane though, Uniboy able to get a full trade off here on that Corki as River does show himself, and he's going to go ahead and try and steal away the Krugs all he can, try and get something while he's up here. And Kongi is just going to have to play, looks like babysitter for Ziv, as they don't want to give over the dive to Talon here, as he's just underneath his tower trying to farm while he can. Doesn't look like either jungler will be able to try and make anything happen, and that's some good ward coverage coming out from AHQ actually to keep track of River early to avoid that situation where Hanabi is able to get ahead of Ziv very early on. Zenith Blade does connect, a nice play back though, is able to interrupt it, but still decent amount of damage, and Kaiwing is forced to flash off to safety. That early trade power that comes out of Leona passive is a little bit underrated by a lot of teams, and it starts to show here as that forces the summoner out of the Thresh.
Yeah, especially that Unified is carrying a cleanse instead of a heal. So it's definitely, you know, that go signal for AHQ to just force either a flash out from Kaiwing. So any sort of flash Q.
Oh, very aggressive here as Kongya makes his appearance in mid lane. Fortunately for him, Candy's able to get back to safety with the help of his soldiers, so nothing really be taking place there. Mid not even going to be able to get a summoner out of these.
And this is a completely different AHQ for sure from the first series, and where they really want to match what Talon has assembled. And as you can see, Ziv running a little bit low here on his health. And with the first gank coming on towards mid lane, Candy is free to just be a little bit more aggressive as he has spotted out Uniboy going back to base.
Yeah, it's rare that we get to see the manaless matchup in the top lane usually, and that's why I'm kind of excited to see how this one transpires between Ziv and Hanabi. Once they hit the level 6, I want to see who goes aggressive very early on, because both of these kids have sustain in them, so they can just try and stay in lane as long as possible. You already see, though, Hanabi is starting to establish himself a pretty distinctive CS lead, almost 2 waves now ahead of Ziv early on here for 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, it has been working very well for Hanabi, considering that is the plan for Talon most of the time, where they just leave Hanabi on his own at top side since he can handle his own, even winning a few 1v2s from time to time during the regular split. And with that said, it gives River a little bit of room to focus either on bot side or maybe even towards Candy, which has been that win condition alongside with Hanabi once they transition towards mid game to late.
So that was a little tragic there for Civ. He wanted to at least get some of those minions. Hanabi's still going to sit back, though, and go in for a very quick trade and in and out. Has that level 6 available. Civ maybe wants to be careful not to grab him in. Both of them, though, level 6 now for the Mordekaiser if Civ wants to go very aggressive. Just wants to soak up a little bit more damage and let that push back in. Other than that early gank, though, mid lane, we haven't really seen much of the junglers as they couldn't make the dive happen for Hanabi on the top side, on the side of Talon, and it's kind of just falling back into this, you know, let the lanes farm out and we'll wait for that first objective fight.
Yeah, and at this point, normally you don't really fight for the initial dragon. Who has priority will be the one who gets that dragon, especially AHQ wants to time this correctly and get that dragon towards that Rift Herald. And it works out, it checks out, because during the first game, it was AHQ that managed to get a really nice bullet time. All the AoEs hit pretty well, and Talon had no choice but to give up a few kills here and there. And that is definitely the plan for AHQ at the moment.
Well, it's kind of in line with the regular season that we got to see a lot out of Talon, which was this, you know, farm game. They're fine just, you know, playing this and waiting for that, you know, 30 to 35 minute mark where they'll have what they think is the better team fight. It comes down to whether or not they can try and actually protect Candy and Unify, because I think the one thing they are lacking in this composition is a proper front line. Without, you know, say that Mordekaiser or Leona that, you know, you have on the side of AHQ, I think is very scary that if Candy isn't able to get a good Emperor's Divide to prevent the dive, it could spell disaster for Talon.
Exactly, and again, it's not like it's a Jarvan in the jungle or a Gragas in the jungle, or maybe even a Sejuani that is just that tanky front line, but at the same time your form of engage. sure, Talon, River, and as well as Kaiwing have these really scary single target engage skills, but at the same time, you will definitely put yourself at risk to just huge amounts of damage, even just put you in range of stuns coming from Ysera as well.
Meanwhile, Talon, they're going to be the first ones to strike when it comes to objectives, as River is able to get pressure onto the Dragon. Kongya is not able to really do much here, and that'll allow the Mountain Drake to go in favor of Talon to start things off.
Yeah, and the timing is perfect once again. Kongya wanted to move towards bot side to see whether or not he can try to contest maybe a Dragon take, but unfortunately it was Talon that managed to get that first push towards that first objective, and they will walk and make their way towards top side for this Rift Herald. And this is where it gets interesting, because for AHQ, seeing how they're moving right now, with Wako not going back, it seems to me they just want to trade plates versus the Rift Herald.
See here, Uniboy's nearby, but is he going to get hooked out? Yes, he will, in the middle of his Valkyrie. Unfortunately for him, he's going to get taken down. That's first blood going in favor of Talon.
And we didn't mention this, Kaiwing, when he has room to roam, he will be tagging along with River and help out, manage to get a few kills here and there, and it has worked pretty well in their favor, especially when they're up against AHQ. And with that said, it seems to me Unified is not even needed to rotate because a 5v5 is not going to be apparent, and therefore the trade that Wako was hoping for, plates versus Rift Herald, didn't really work out for AHQ.
Yeah, he only got himself one plate, it looks like, down in that bot lane. So with that, Talon are able to find first blood on the map, and it comes off just one good hook. Unfortunately for Uniboy, he's just checking without vision. He gets caught.
I mean, yeah, that was unfortunate. Mid-Valkyrie as well. There's not a lot of safety to work with this fight, even with that flash. There's just a lot of chain CC that Talon can utilize. And yeah, it has sort of created this domino effect, even affecting bot side.
I'll give it to Uniboy. He almost had the reactions, too, to actually get himself to safety. He did see it. He opted to go away with the Valkyrie, though, instead of the flash, and ends up costing him his first death. It allowed Candy to get also a nice little push into the mid lane. He also got some turret plating, so that small take there helps snowball this Azir a little bit more, gives him a little bit more gold into his back pocket over this Corki, and also delays Uniboy's back. Unfortunately, he's not able to actually fully finish off his tier item and start stacking that Muramana, so that gets slightly delayed there himself, but, you know, not a bad start here for Talon. This is kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah, and they actually deny any sort of potential package play to sort of scare away River. Because of that timing, Rift Herald is gone, Dragon is gone, package isn't really well set up to be utilized to its full value, considering if you go bot side, it's pretty scary. And here we go again, River and Kaiwing once more. They are spotted though. This could be the go signal for Ysera and Wako to make something happen, but it seems to me Unified is just quite close to his own tower.
Yeah, unfortunately, too, when there's a cleanse available for the Aphelios, it's rather difficult for Ysera to be able to get pretty much everything. It'd be a little bit risky to go in for that tower dive. I even saw Wako was actually already using his bullet time just to clear out waves, so they don't actually even have any kill threat with the fact that Kaiwing's able to go for a roam.
Yeah, and I think that definitely says a lot, considering, okay, you have River just practically everywhere securing objectives with Kaiwing, but unfortunately, next Dragon is about to spawn, so AHQ has first dibs on towards this area. Vision-wise though, Talon is covering a lot.
A lot of vision being put down. You do see AHQ, they're at least trying to defend their bot side of the map while they can and try and prevent Wako and Ysera from being caught out, as they are continuing to try and just completely shove out the lane as much as possible. Just trying to farm what they can. It will be, I believe, an Essence Reaver, though, on this back here for the Misfortune. So your first, you know, crit item with a little bit of cooldown reduction. Not too bad. You're still waiting on that Infinity before she really starts to come online.
Yeah, we definitely saw how an Aphelios can impact these fights once that Infinity Edge is completed, and that gives Unified a little bit more confidence trying to fight through objectives, and that's 40 seconds on the clock, and that's perfect timing as well once the Baron spawns, or rather once the Dragon spawns back into the Rift.
There we go. Shelly's going to be able to get a good push here, and that gets Candy some turret plate. and almost knocks down this mid lane tower. And for Uniboy, means this lane phase is starting to come to a close here if he's not careful. One more catch or a forced back without a answer on the side of AHQ means that tower will fall, and he's going to be stuck at his second tier tower where Candy can start roaming to other lanes, and it gives more control over to Talon.
I'm so scared for Candy, but he does have Flash though, just in case things get a little bit too sticky. For Talon, they are at the opposite end of this river instead, as they have sort of scared off AHQ when it comes to having this priority at bot side.
Ward's going to come out. Hook is not going to land, though. It is going to be the turret being put over the other side of the wall, and Kongyu is forced to have to back off as the explosive spider comes out from river, getting a little bit of damage. Candy also got the inside track in from mid lane, so he'll be able to answer this fight first. And without package being available for Uniboy, he can't really add a whole lot to this fight unless he wants to try and get very aggressive. Gotta be careful, though. Hook is not going to land from Kaiwing as he was fishing for either the Leona or the Misfortune, and Talon just defending their ground. Hell, they're even forcing Uniboy to have to respect Candy here as he's able to get a good trade-off.
And the best part is, for those three members, like Unified, Kaiwing, and River, just here in this blue buff is enough.
Hook is going to land. Play does not bring him over the wall. River, though, gets really aggressive, flashing forward, able to dig his fangs in, and they're able to find themselves a quick and easy pickoff on the support of AHQ. And like that, Talon can go ahead and turn right back toward the Dragon.
And that's definitely what they need. And that's the only thing that they need to do, actually, because what is your main engage on the side of AHQ? You do manage to eliminate Isera, and that would really just diminish the pressure from AHQ's composition when it comes to early game objectives. And this was really well put. Again, the chain CC that comes from either the death sentence towards that cocoon is just a lot of heavy bursts coming in as well from Talon's composition.
And that was a play that Talon was pretty much fishing for the last, I don't know, about a minute and a half. AHQ knew what Talon was trying to do here. And they kind of just, instead of just completely conceding control, they wanted to try and do what they could to try and force maybe a fight in their favor, but they end up just getting picked off. And there's why, you know, Kaiwing's pretty respected on his thresh. He's had now 2 really good hooks that have been landed correctly into a cocoon combo from River, and that's kind of the play Talon are looking for, is they're going to now start heading toward the second Rift Herald.
And it's perfect too, because you got 2 early kills on for Riverside, and we can see how an Elise can just immediately burst you down, considering that at this point of the game, even though let's just say you have that tank role, you're not exceptionally tanky at this point of the game, coming from an Elise burst. So now, no contest whatsoever. The thing is, we've never actually seen both of these teams, once they came face-to-face against each other, come back from behind. So whoever sort of wins that early to mid-game gets that momentum towards that finish. So this will definitely be very difficult, considering Talon has been getting most of the objectives and the kills without any sort of exchange coming from AHQ.
Well, AHQ, they're able to at least take down the turret in bot lane, but this does mean Shelly's going to get another charge here for the second tier tower. Hook is not going to land there, but now AHQ's second tier tower in top lane below half health to start the game before, 20 minutes. Candy was also trying to push in what he could in the mid lane. Wako actually has to respond here. And that's going to be your small little trade. That does mean Hanabi, though, can just go down toward this bot lane and soak up experience in CS, because there's now not going to be a second Rift Herald to fight over.
Yeah, exactly. So for AHQ, now they're now looking towards the next dragon for a possibly good fight. Unfortunately, the carries are still not there yet when it comes to their spikes, especially, Muramana not stacked up just yet. Triforce is not yet completed, only having 2 of the components. So for AHQ, they have to be a little bit more patient and see how they can sort of stall this out against Talon, especially that when they get ahead, they like to push it even more.
Unified and Waka are just going to go toe-to-toe here in the mid lane as we do the classic ping pong of just trading CS back and forth. That is a Stinger now completed, though, for Candy. Actually, the Gnasher's Tooth fully completed for that Azir. So you're starting to see your first little spikes here and there on the side of Talon. Similar, though, to AHQ, Civ is actually going a very aggressive route, going straight into a Leandri. So he's going to try and do what he can to go 1v1 on Hanabi, and I think that's kind of what I've been waiting for, to see whether or not Civ is confident enough to try and go into a 1v1 with Hanabi now, the fact that he has his first item.
Yeah, I feel like that is going to be his target, considering that he didn't opt for maybe the Proto Belt perhaps to close the gap against these other squishies in the back line. So he's definitely aiming for that front line, just as you mentioned, which is Hanabi, that will be creating chaos towards Wako and Uniboy during the team fights. But at least for AHQ, they do have that poke in the form of Corki, which sort of slows down the push, even the sort of attempt of being a little bit more aggressive when it comes to the ping pong in the mid lane.
It's going to be cleared down in toward the bot side of the map. Talon still find themselves about 1,500 gold ahead of AHQ. We want to see, though, River was able to get a couple kills early. We wanted to see that snowball a little bit more out of control, though. And that's the one thing going in favor, I think, of AHQ at the moment is if Talon decide not to really try and play for a, aggressive fight here early, it does give time for this Misfortune to get, her second item where she'll have that Infinity Edge. She'll feel really good. You're going to have the Trinity Force online for Uniboy as well. And there's going to be those 3-item power spikes where you got a lot of squishy members on the side of Talon. They'll get blown up immediately if they're not careful.
Yeah, if we look at like the graph on where Wako and Uniboy just explodes, they actually pop off at the same time. So eventually for Talon, they might get overwhelmed with damage if, Wako and Uniboy is able to get that perfect AoE setup, perfect AoE pokes.
Well, Pillar goes down. Ysera looking for the Zenith Blade. Kaiwing with a very nice play, though, is able to interrupt the combo. That's going to be the Solar Flare, but they don't actually go for the full engage. There comes the ultimate there from Unified.
Whoa.
Able to get a decent chunk of damage, but not enough to take down the Leona, as Hanabi is still running interference in the mid lane, and Candy's joined in onto the party. That means Leona and one of those big form of engages on the side of AHQ are down. Hanabi can look for the flank here if he wants to go for it. Ysera's pretty low to be trying to go for this. Civ pops his ultimate, wants to challenge Hanabi into the 1v1 on the Death Realm. Dragon will be secured, though, on the side of Talon as Hanabi gets brought back on in. Not enough damage there. It finally is, though, but in comes the ensuing fight on the side of Talon. Do they wish to go for this? Candy looking to set himself up for a possible Emperor's Divide. A flash forward from Ysera isn't enough to do it. Emperor's Divide separates back the fight. They're still not able to catch out Candy. He goes down pretty low. AHQ, they're still able to find themselves a decent fight off the end of this skirmish, where it's going to be the single kill of Hanabi getting taken down in trade of the third dragon in the game.
Yeah, that take on Hanabi just enabled AHQ to be a little bit more aggressive. Just as we mentioned, if there's no front line, then it makes it a little bit awkward for Talon to reinitiate fights like that. And that would be the time where AHQ can get a little bit more aggressive, considering that there were so many people who were low in the opposition. And a few pokes here and there were definitely enough to scare them off. Nice sidestep coming from Hongye. Good play as well coming from Kaiwing. And as you can see, Unified actually managed to sidestep the Solar Flare as well. And that's the reason why Ysera had to back away, because he got poked out pretty well.
Yeah, you saw there, he actually does stay for this ensuing fight. And I think this is Talon just maybe trying to get too much for what they had. They wanted to get the dragon, and they also wanted to get a fight in their favor, it seemed. And Hanabi can only delay for so long as the rest of AHQ were able to pile on in. He wasn't able to survive, and it saw during that little skirmish there, it looked like Talon were itching to try and go. Candy wanted to try and go in for the Shurima Shuffle, but had to stay safe because Ysera was still there with Flash available.
Yeah, and it was definitely a 4v5 too, and I feel like the angle of things was perfect for Candy in terms of reaching the backline, but at the same time, you were really prominent to the dives coming from AHQ, especially just as you mentioned, Ysera and as well as Kong. It's going to be in your face as well as Ziv. And there you go, Triforce and as well as your Mural Mana already completed. This is going to be very scary for Talon.
Yeah, you're starting to get those 2-item spikes. Double crit item onto the Misfortune, so her blip time is going to start doing a decent chunk of damage, especially to your frontline squishies that are on the side of Talon. And we're starting to feel a little bit of shift here in this game. Unfortunately for Talon too, you're looking at Cloud Soul, which isn't necessarily the best pickup you're probably hoping for during this game. Maybe you would have liked to have the Mountain to, soak up a little bit more damage that was going to get outputted here for AHQ, but you can't know what the Dragons are before the game. And They'll have to go with the extra little bit of cooldown reduction on the ultimate as well as the movement speed, but I don't know if that's going to help you enough when it comes to these late game team fights.
Yeah, and we did. Oh, we're a little bit scared, considering that is AoE wise. AHQ definitely takes the cake, especially that Unified has to stay safe, considering they'll really rely on his high damage output on this Aphelios now that he has Runons. Yeah, at least Cleanse is still available. No stopwatches yet on Unified, so that is pretty good for AHQ.
Sid just continues his push, his mission down in the bot lane for now, as he's going to be looking toward his Gnasher's Tooth when he goes for the 1v1 against Hanabi, trying to take him into the Death Realm. Unfortunately there, we saw that River got caught out and he was forced to flash away, and we've seen now a couple times where I'm always skeptical when it comes to the Elise play here in the PCS. I find it's maybe too fast of a champion for some of these top teams where, you know, I want to see them make more plays early, and unfortunately, we've only saw the two that came out of River, but he wasn't able to transition anywhere else on the map. He wasn't able to exploit this Corki pick in the mid lane where they'd be able to try and get Candy ahead. It's been a bit awkward. Hook does land, but unfortunately it's going to be hooked onto the Leona, and Unified, he doesn't want any of that.
Yeah, you're right. This Elise pick, I think it also contributes to the fact that Talon ended the laning phase quite early. So that is a nice hook.
Hook is going to come down with the box. Ultimate is there from Unified. Ends up fanning though. They're not able to secure any more damage. Spiderling comes out, not able to stop the back of Kongya. Package is available here for Uniboy if he really wants to try and make a last stand for this tower, but it is going to go down immediately. As Candy is going to be able to erect one of his own towers from the Azir. And it forces AHQ now to have to, you know, play a little bit back. They can't go for it.
And they know that Ziv is actually at bot side, probably hoping to see if they can flank. But that is going to be actually the Cloud Drake right now.
Oh, that's a very early package being used. Civ is, though, looking for a flank, and this looks pretty identical to what we saw in the earlier series. River able to get himself back to safety. It is going to be the ultimate. Bullet time gets put down. River now caught within the Death Realm. He's trying to delay as long as he possibly can. Good Azir soldiers, though, almost catch out Wako. Civ, though, still on the front line, wants to go in for the fight. Unified trying to do what he can.
Whoa!
Emperor's to fight, though, separates them on back, and Hanabi is able to find the kill. Once again, Kongyu jumps onto the back line, helps get the shutdown onto the Azir, but Unified is untouched, and a beautiful hook comes out from Ysera, but unfortunately, he gets caught out. Hanabi trying to do what he can. It's going to be a triple kill. Jumps forward onto Uniboy, gets the flash stun down from the Renekton, and Hanabi on a rampage is looking to bring back this fight by himself, as that is going to be a delayed, I believe, double. Was that a delayed penta coming out from Hanabi? No, it was a quadra. Close enough.
The Quadra.
Got himself a quadra in the very end as Hanabi able to carry back this fight. Let's take another look.
That was wild. Okay, so Package was used to zone out Talon from getting any sort of funny steals. Unfortunately, the bullet time only affected Kaiwing. It pushed Talon back. But some of the carries are actually pretty low already, as River will be the first one to fall. Candy had to zone out Kongyi and the rest of the members, but had to reposition himself with his beautiful Emperor's Divide to keep them at distance. Unfortunately, we see a mini duel between the carries of Talon and as well as AHQ, as unfortunately Unified is unable to win this one. But Hanabi, my word, he was healthy all this time, and with all those low health targets, Hanabi can just stick to you and get heals off of you too.
That feels bad. Hanabi's penta was stolen there by the other multi-kill king, which is Unified when it comes to the PCS. Hanabi, though, he's stuck underneath tower. He's got his GA. A decent amount of damage comes out, and Civ is going to get taken down here as Candy's able to find himself the kill. Uniboy wanted to maybe finish him off, but that GA, that's a lot of aggression coming out from Hanabi as he had a massive amount of gold injected onto this Renekton.
Yeah, 412 right now, 400 gold on his bounty. Even going a lot of defensive items afterwards for a little bit more defense against Ziv, and as well as getting more heals. Oh my.
Underneath Hanabi. Hanabi, this is rather aggressive. There comes Candy, though, to help him out. That's going to be the Emperor picking up his kill, and immediately, though, Talon are going for everything. Double teleport back into the Baron pit. This is how fast you're able to shred this part, let alone just the Aphelios. They also take it down, and that is a massive power move coming out from Talon.
This is completely different from the usual Talon that we see when they come face-to-face against AHQ, because this was Talon forcing AHQ to run around different parts of the map, trying to catch up. First, they wanted to help Uniboy at bot side. Then you suddenly see 2 people from Talon teleport to Baron. Then from HQ at their blue side moving towards red, but not able to make it in time. It's insane.
Yeah, it might have been the most worth GA activation I've seen here in the PCS. This is all Hanabi saying, you know what, you can come kill me, try and kill me, see what's going to happen. He gets the resurrection. He also got a boost of HP from Triumphants. That's why he actually came back with almost 2,000 health. So Uniboy was just like, oh, I can't do anything to this Renekton. And then he tried to stay down, and, you know, maybe if it's just Hanabi, he's not going to be able to do much. But the fact that there's also the Azir nearby is, it's a little unfortunate, as that Corki ain't been able to get to safety.
And you see at the 3 remaining members of AHQ wanting to move towards that spot. Not another fight. Okay,
fight here.
Guess there's none.
They were looking for it, but both teams are going to disengage. With Baron buff, though, Talon can start knocking down these towers and picking up gold across the map and start accelerating this gold lead. While they have an advantage, is now that's going to be a second-tier tower in mid, now possibly the inhibitor tower in mid, as AHQ are all over the place. They don't know what to do here.
Again, what happened earlier really threw off, you know, the course of AHQ, and now they're on defense mode. And in terms of wave clear, they have to rely on Uniboy here. There's still a couple of minions, 1 cannon minion, pushing towards this inhibitor tower.
Unfortunately, that forces that Misfortune have to deal with the wave down in bot lane, but now Talon can start pushing through this choke point. That's where AHQ want to try and force a fight here, but they are going to lose the mid lane inhibitor and immediately start pressing toward this bot lane.
There's still a lot, 50 seconds on the clock. Package is still available for Uniboy, but again, just as we mentioned, for the teams that are facing against a package, normally you try to wait for it to expire before you go on full aggression. And there's not a lot of time actually for this package.
We'll see here. That's going to be the Dragon started up. Talon want to go for this. The hook is going to land immediately onto Leona. Without the Leona, the Solar Flare is only used onto a Thresh. It is going to be support for a support. Actually, Hanabi got taken down. He got very aggressive here on the Renekton. But that is going to be Cloud Soul secured by Talon, as they now want to look for the inside track, possibly. Oh, that's a beautiful hook, though, coming out from the side of Kaiwing with a flash engage onto Kongya, and Candy is on a rampage.
What a wild play. I was so surprised. You know how confident Kaiwing was? He flashed just to get the hook on towards Kongya. That's 35 seconds on the clock before he revives, and there's a wave building slowly towards topside. That flash had a lot of value on towards to eliminate Kongya off the table.
No, that is confidence coming out from Kaiwing, and he has landed some monster hooks this game. Right, the death sentence, it seems, here of AHQ in Game 1. Talon still need to close it out, though. It's going to be Elder Dragon in 5 minutes and the next Baron shortly. Let's take another look.
Yeah, I want to see that again. But first off, AHQ focused on Hanabi instead. That is a pretty big win, considering that he got an unofficial Quadra in the previous Dragon fight. And this is where the beauty starts. That flash hook to get Kongya. And it was just such confidence coming from Kaiwing. That is just beautiful.
I heard a hook there. I was like, where's Kaiwing now? Who did he hook? He hooked the red buff. I got a little bit scared there. But now we're at the point here where this Aphelios is a monster. Wako has been able to at least kind of keep up with him. He actually went into a cloak immediately after his Bloodthirster. So the Misfortune ultimate still has value if they're able to land onto multiple targets. But now with the extra little bit of move speed that's coming out from this Cloud Drake, it's kind of gone in favor of Talon, where they're able to spread apart AHQ with the split push. Bot lane's going to begin to push in. Baron is still a minute or 2 away from spawning, and that's going to be kind of when Talon are going to look for this once again. Uniboy, no package available, as he's kind of waiting that timer out, as Talon are going to try and get the siege down here in bot lane.
I just want to say, Unified is super comfortable moving a little bit forward, despite not exactly near his teammates. He does have Flash and as well as a QSS in his pocket, and as well as Cleanse, and that's where the confidence comes from, just to farm a little bit more. Before they go over to this next Baron, which could potentially be the last stand of AHQ. They do have a lot of the core items intact, just as you mentioned already, especially coming from Uniboy and Wacko, but they have to try and, have the best position. Candy's gonna be fine though. Yeah, QSS already completed for Wacko. All sums, important sums for the carries are at least there for the next Baron to spawn in case AHQ wants to contest.
So we'll see. Elder Drake now in 3. Pings coming out from Talon. They're going to go ahead and start setting up toward the Baron. Unified just going to go ahead and clear out the mid lane. For AHQ, it's whether or not you can find a massive Zenith Blade from Ysera or a Solar Flare onto the back line. But like you mentioned, there's now 2 cleanses available for Unified to keep him safe. I wouldn't be shocked if we maybe see a Crucible come out from Kaiwing as well. And, oh, geez, that damage of Ysera does not respect this Aphelios. He may be a Leona, but he ain't that tanky. Teleport's going to be burned here from AHQ. They want to try and at least interrupt this take here on the side. River goes down pretty low. Hook, though, is going to land onto Ysera, and they take down the Leona immediately. And like that, they lose one of their primary engages on the side of AHQ.
Again, that's perfect.
Kaiwing looking for another hook. Gonna start fishing, not able to connect here. River over onto the side. Ultimate's being used there by Unified, only gonna get a little chunk of damage. Civ is nearby, has Flash available if he wants to go for the engage onto one of the carries. Candy is standing pretty far forward. That's gonna be bullet time. Interrupted immediately though by the side of Hanabi as he dives into the back line, and that is the Baron gonna get secured. Candy now in the 1v1 against Civ, kiting for his life on the Azir, almost able to take him down, but it won't be enough. He shall fall, and in the end, it's gonna be a trade of 1 member for the Baron. Uniboy though, unfortunately, he gets caught out. He's going to get snared up, and Unified is on a killing spree.
And with that said, AHQ, again, tried their best to see whether or not they can contest. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shred coming from Talon, and they have to respect the fact that Kaiwing has been very precise with his hooks. And the fact that Ysera wasn't around made it even more difficult to start and deny the Baron.
Wave is going to get pushed in. Inhibitor tower is going to fall in the bot side. Now the Inhibitor going to be the next target. Still waiting 28 seconds on Uniboy. He will have home guard though if he wants to try and rejoin in onto the fight. Civ looking for a big flank. A nice Solar Flare onto River, but your main target needs to be Unified on this Aphelios. He's untouched during the fight. He's going to be able to just take off here as now AHQ are going to start trying to run back for their life. The Flamethrower does so much damage, and this Aphelios once again goes untouched. It's the ace for Talon, and they can look to finish off the first game here against AHQ.
Unfortunately, Exhaust did not help at all, as again, you mentioned, Unified was untouched the whole time, and this is such a huge win for Talon.
And like that, Talon are going to go ahead, take game 1 over AHQ, looking very comfortable as the final ace is there. 18-8, Talon with the advantage here in the series.
It's so different because the first 2 VO5s we've seen from Talon is usually them losing to sort of maybe gauge, but this is a completely confident Talon. We've seen them just press that go button, especially when they got the early lead. Like, it was slow a little bit during the first maybe 15 minutes of the game, but after Hanabi getting that unofficial quadra, that was the time they were just pushing with their lead, being extra aggressive, and it pays off really, really well.
Well, can we also highlight the fact, MVP, I swear if it doesn't go to Kaiwing, I'm going to go yell at production back over in Taipei, because, oh my god, he had so many nasty hooks this game. It was absolutely ridiculous.
It was wild. It was wild. I think there was just so many key hooks to chain with River on this Elise, but the one where he had to flash and get Kongyu was the best one. And this is one of those fights where River was actually get picked off immediately at the start of the fight. And Kaiwing, again, having to reset with this death sentence, even managing to survive after all this time. And it really enabled, the carries to just deal with all of that damage, considering HQ was very low at this time.
Yeah, and we also got to see Hanabi again onto a carry, you know, bruiser, a fighter, and he was able to walk away the victor, I guess, between that matchup with him and Civ. So he gets to, I guess, earn bragging rights here. As we saw, he got the unofficial Quadra, as well as it should have been a Penta, but, you know, Unified wanted to take that one away from him. 36 minutes on the clock. Talon are able to take game one in pretty dominating fashion. There was a hint of life from AHQ around that mid-mark, about 20 minutes into the game, but once that immediate Baron call came out after the 2 picks in bot lane, that's kind of where Talon just ran away with this.
Yeah, I feel like it has something to do with the constant tug of war when it comes to who gets to engage first. And it turns out Kaiwing would always get the first hook. First hook means first barrage of damage from the Aphelios. Therefore, Ysera would always be the first victim, as these 2 supports were always wanted to get in range of their Zenith Blade or their Death Sentence. And with that, Kaiwing has won that support duel at the entirety of that game.
Oh no, exactly. Like, overall, it was pretty much who could get the engage first, and there wasn't usually time for a counter engage to come out from the opposing squad. So, again, it's congratulations for Talon. For AHQ, though, they still have the opportunity to come back in this series. It's only game 1 of this best of 5. The last best of 5 between these 2 teams went the full distance, and there were many games during that previous best of 5 where AHQ looked absolutely dominant over Talon. Looks like, though, the extra rest for Talon does pay off, as again, they had the higher seeding because they were able to go farther into the winner's bracket. And we'll see whether or not they're able to continue to close out this series, or if HQ are able to bounce back.
Yeah, anything is possible when it comes to the playoffs, especially, you know, when we saw Talon face against Machi, there was a little bit of signs of life where Talon was able to defeat Machi off of their official win streak series-wise, but unfortunately did not happen. And there you go, Opal, it's Kaiwing in the MVP.
Damn right it's Kaiwing, as he gets the MVP off some nasty hooks. That was one of the proper support performances that I did believe fully deserved an MVP. You know, sometimes production, they just give a support MVP when they can't decide on anybody else. Used to always have to give it to the support in the very end if that's the case, but now earning his mark here on the Thresh with some absolutely lethal death sentences, especially that flash one over the wolf wall was just nasty to say the very least. So congratulations. We'll see whether or not HQ actually want to try and ban that one out, because Kaiwing, especially his playoff performance for Talon, whether it be on this Thresh or even the Rakan picks that we have seen, he has had phenomenal games throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and it seems to me, you know, you've got Ysera on the opposite end, who has been performing well as well on the Thresh constantly, and this is definitely Kaiwing's 4th play on this Thresh, and I'm just very excited to see more from this player right here. And just as you mentioned, I feel like it might get banned on the next rotation, and I am excited to see how AHQ can pick up from the loss once more, since again, when we look back at the BO5, it was a 2-0 start for AHQ side.
Yeah, HQ were the ones who struck first in the previous best of 5, and they were pretty close to actually sweeping that series. This is that 3rd game they just couldn't close out. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's going to be game 2 between Talon and HQ.